Hi, everybody. It's your friend Daniel Hutchins, and today we are doing another Marvel Insider check in, and later we're doing other stuff. But first, our Marvel Insider check in of 12/14/21. So, Marvel Insider check in of 12/14/21. Now, the last time we were on was the 12th. Again, I'm still a level elite. I have 16,491 points to True Believer, and I have 64,250 redeemable points. Now, we're going to see if they have updated it, but again, yeah. Alright. So, first, we are going to see what type of stuff is under the material. Okay, so now there is a new holiday gift guide for all your Spider-Man fans. Now, holiday gift guide from the Marvel shop has all these new Spider-Man gifts. Now, now with the release of Spider-Man No Way Home this week, there are bound to be lots of Spider-Man gifts for your holidays. So you can go to Amazon, and thankfully Amazon has a Amazon Spider-Man hub for all the best Spider-Man merch. We've rounded up some several below. So we have the Spider-Man Web Bolt Nerf Blaster. We have the Jet Web Cycle vehicle with detachable action figure. We have a No Way Home Spider-Man and Doctor Strange poster shirt. We also have a No Way Home Mysterio We Believe t-shirt. We also have Funko Pops, because you gotta have Funko Pops. And then Marvel Comic Library of Spider-Man Volume 1, the 1962 to 1964 hardcover edition. Again, you can add that to your Marvel library. Again, it's remastered, of course. Now, Spider-Man Life Story. And you got Miles Morales Shockwaves, which is another novel. And then Spider-Man No Way Home, Spider-Man's Very Strange Day, which is for like children. Um, there's also Movie Making Magic of Marvel Studios Spider-Man, The Story of Marvel Studios, The Making of Marvel Cinematic Universe, which I've referenced before, Spider-Man Miles Morales, The Art of the Game, Little Gold Books, Spider-Man, and then another Little Gold Books of Spider-Man, an electronic voice effects glow in the dark Spider-Man mask with light moving eyes, a Lego Duplo Marvel Spider-Man headquarters and Spider-Man Amazing Friends, The Power of Three, the Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends Little Gold Book, Spidey and His Amazing Friends Web Wheel Vehicle, Miles Morales Pullback Vehicles. And for more Spider-Man inspired ideas, go over to Amazon. Go over to Amazon and shop at the Spider-Man Hub. Again, let me know what your thoughts are about that and which Marvel items you want to get for yourself or for someone you love for the holidays this year. Because, like I said, I actually, technically, I don't mind talking about things that you guys can have for your holiday. Because next week is the holidays. So I figure I fill you guys in and talk about what items are out now that you could get for yourself or your friend or whomever who likes Spider-Man. Now, we're going to keep going. It's not over. We're going to keep going. So, we're just going to go through lates at Marvel Comics and maybe some other stuff. So, we are going. So now you could get your first look of Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Now, I've already saw the trailer like 5 times already. So I'm not going to spend too much time on it. I just want to let you know that it's out. It's an exclusive in movie theaters next fall. It's not supposed to come out till next fall, so I'm letting you guys know. It doesn't come out till October of 2022, respectively speaking, for the next Miles Morales Spider-Man movie adventure. Okay, so now we want to go to books. Like I finished just about everything in the Waits Marvel, uh, except the podcast and the code redeems. But I can't do the code redeems because I don't have the code. Okay, so I know it's kind of crazy, but okay, comics. Now, hopefully, there's someone under comics. Okay, so now the top 10 moments of the Matt Fraction Hawkeye series. Now, you want to know the top 10 moments of the Hawkeye series by Matt Fraction. Okay, so you have Fix This Dog, which is Hawkeye number 1. You have Boomerang Arrow, Hawkeye number 3. You have Kate Has Unmasked, Hawkeye number 4. You have Hawkeye, which is Hawkeye number 6. And then you have Jersey Rules, Hawkeye number 7. The Clown from Hell, Hawkeye number 10. Now I'm just reading the headers to save time. Lucky's Day Out, which is Hawkeye number 11. We, Hawkeye number 19. Hawkeye Out, Hawkeye number 20. Going Out on Top, Hawkeye number 22. So yeah, if you want to read the Matt Fractions Hawkeye, you can go to Marvel Unlimited, and you can find it there. Just saying. And you can also check out his series on Disney Plus. Like I've said before. We are getting very close to being True Believer. We just have to try to get there, hopefully. I mean, I'm only 15,000 points away. Oh my gosh. I've never reached that level before because I've always stuck at Elite. So I'm going to keep going. Well, that's a video I'll do later after my check-in. But we are seeing whatever stuff there is, y'all. So now we want to talk about what comic books come out this week. You want to know what comic books come out this week? Well, you're in for a treat because I'm going to tell you guys what comic books come out this week. So you have Conan Barbarian and the Fossa Smile edition, number 1. You have Demon Days Rise and Storm, number 1. You have Wastelanders Wolverine, number 1. You have The Thing, number 2. You have Hulk, number 2. You have Defenders, number 4. Kazor, the Lord of the Savage Land, number 4. Eternals, number 8. Star Wars The High Republic, 12. You have Strange Academy, number 14. X-Force, number 26. Excalibur, number 26. Savage Avengers, number 27. Miles Morales Spider-Man, number 33. Amazing Spider-Man, number 81. You have Death of Doctor Strange, Blade, number 1. Giant-Sized Black Cat Infinity Score, number 1. You have Devil's Reign, number 1. Star Wars Crimson Reign, number 1. Marvel Voices Comunidades, number 1. You have Captain America and Iron Man, number 1. Demon Days X-Men Creators Cut, number 1. You have Inferno, number 3. Amazing Fantasy, number 5. You also have Fantastic Four Life Story, number 5. X-Men Legends, number 9. Hellions, number 18. Star Wars, number 19. And Amazing Spider-Man, number 80.1. 80.1. I don't understand what the whole point that is, but sometimes they do that with comics. But yeah, those are your books you're going to see out in your comic book store this week. So I just read off what the titles were for your comic books you'll see in your local comic book store. Now, if any of those sound interesting, let me know in my comments section. Okay, so given fact that there's only a couple of 500-point activities, I'm going to be doing those ones later. So I'm trying to knock out all the 250 ones. I almost got all the 250 points done. Uh, so we're going to be talking about Hawkeye again because it's another 250 pointer. So the Hawkeye's best team ups. You want to know the Matt Fraction Hawkeye's best team ups. Okay, Never Meet Your Heroes, which is Young Avengers Presents 2008 number 6, the Aerodynamic Duo, which is Hawkeye 2012 number 2, Shenanigans with Deadpool, Hawkeye vs. Deadpool 2014 number 1, Knowing Your History, the all-new Hawkeye 2015 number 1, Time Heals All Wounds, all-new Hawkeye 2015 number 1. You got Family Reunion, the Hawkeye 2016 number 13. It has a cover of mugshots. Then you have the Little Help from a Friend, West Coast Avengers 2018 number 1. So yeah, guys, those are all your your best team up moments with the Hawkeyes, Clint Barton and Kate Bishop, again in comic books. So if you are familiar with any of those, let me know in the comments. I really want to know which Hawkeye books you recommend or which ones you've read, and you can share this among anyone who's on the channel. Okay, so we are trying to see if there's more stuff. Well, of course, I knocked pretty much all the main things out that I want. Some stuff I'm saving special, but I'm going to try and knock out some of the stuff for y'all. So we want to talk about the Marvel Guardians of the Galaxy game. Okay, now I know I talked about it or I referenced it before, but the Marvel Guardians of the Galaxy game brings home Best Narratives at the Game Awards. Now, beginning from October the 26th of this year, this game has took off, and since then, we read the comments and seen the photo mode screenshots, especially those of Cosmo the Space Dog and his puppies. We've been overwhelmed by ecstatic reception from fans and critics alike. It is rewarded at the Game Awards for brilliant collaborators and for Best Narrative, guys. Best Narrative. So, storytelling is the heart of everything with Marvel. We know this because core values of awesome friends at our producers have also embraced throughout their history. Said from Marvel Games and creative director Bill Roseman. Now, the entire Marvel family congratulates and thanks the narrative teams and the phenomenally talented artists as well for not only delivering the hilarious, charismatic character voices, but also taking players onto an emotional journey filled with profound commentary, trauma, grief, loss, and all through the power of found family, redemption, healing, and something the entire galaxy needs right now. So we're in-depth looks of stellar narratives in common months. In case you missed it, you can check out story trailers on YouTube. Again, they're really cool. So I've seen some of them, and I have to say, the Guardians of the Galaxy game that came out this fall was actually looks pretty good. So again, let me know your thoughts about that. I want to know if you guys or any of you subscribers on my channel know anything about the game, or if you guys like when I talk about the game, or if you know someone who's played the game before. Let me know in the comments. Again, I want you guys to communicate more to be more open about what I talked about on the channel. Okay, so now we're going to be talking about another Marvel game that's been honored. Marvel Future Revolution. Yes, Marvel Future Revolution receives the top honor of the Apple's App Store Best of 2021. That's a huge accomplishment because for all Apple Apple phone owners, they have for them to recognize that Marvel Future Revolution has received the top honor mention following from an August launch. The Netmarbles game secures an iPad Game of the Year award. So for Apple Store Game Award, it is the best of 2021. Again, another huge accomplishment and recognized with prestigious awards or immensely humbling. Again, as we strove to the first of its kind for a Marvel player to connect players from all over the world and battle up against each other with cutting-edge designs and intuitive usability and advanced application of Apple's unique technology. Again, if you guys know anything about Apple technology, also let me know in the comments below because I don't use Apple. I actually use Android. But again, so Marvel Future Revolution is going to probably have some more updates in game for next year. Again, you can follow them on their website, on Google Play, the Apple App Store, and you can follow them on social media, the Facebook page, the Twitter page, the Instagram page, or the YouTube page. And again, like always, I'm hoping you guys will communicate through these live streams more often so I know you guys are tuning in to what I'm talking about, y'all. Okay, so we are only 14,000 points away. We have to try to get this knocked down. I know I can do it. It just is a matter of figuring out how to do it. Okay, so now you can actually play Maya Lopez in another Marvel game. Maya Lopez, we know as Echo. You could play her now on the Marvel game we know, Marvel Puzzle Quest. Now, she is a master of taking down criminal cartels, and her ability to perfectly mimic any physical ability she's seen. Now, she is the deaf prodigy and adopted daughter of Kingpin, secretly trained by enforcers and assassins, and upon learning Kingpin has killed her biological dad, Maya's got in touch with her Cheyenne heritage and her heroic inclination. Now she's known as Echo, the master of taking down criminal cartels and ability to mimic any physical ability she sees. Again, it's really, really cool. But again, you can play her now on Marvel Puzzle Quest, and she has some really, 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 really interesting powers. Again, if you watch her on Hawkeye, you would know why. Okay, so I think that pretty much is good for right now, as far as for right now with Marvel Insider. So now we are going to be going to Den of Geek. Now I know it's been a while since we used Den of Geek, but that is why we're going to be talking about some stuff from it again. Okay, so we want to go to comics because that's the stuff we talk about, guys. That's the stuff we talk about, comics and comic movies. Again, so okay, so now we're going to be talking about how the MCU Spider-Man needs to get out of Iron Man's shadow. Now I know I've referenced it before, but Tom Holland's Spider-Man is about to complete his first trilogy as Iron Man's unofficial sidekick. Now, the next run of Spider-Man movies should move away from this angle. Okay, so Peter Parker is a true rebel. He's a high-swinging, hard-kicking, red and blue smartass who's never kept his mouth shut. But again, Spider-Man may have grown up learning the lessons of his dear Aunt May and Uncle Ben, but outside of those attentive parents, he's never had the time of anyone over 30. Again, he was a superhero idol of his age in the 1960s, the wise guy who's taunted all the squares and tried to make him respect their authority. Yet, whether it's their best mate's father, Norman Osborn, or the closely tied Otto Octavius, his ridiculous bowl cut, those stiffs have learned just how few webs he had to give. Again, it feels worthwhile remembering his aspect as a character nowadays, because after all, the most popular modern image of Spider-Man, Tom Holland, is an affable nerd in Marvel Cinematic Universe, has largely abandoned his fundamental element of comic book characters in favors of becoming the MCU's most happy and happy-go-lucky hall monitor. Again, while creative liberty of adaptation was always necessary to be should be encouraged, it should feel that its vaguely missed opportunity that such a great performance has been tasked over the course of 3 films, or 6 if you count all the Avengers movies Holland has appeared in, with ostensibly playing alongside as Tony Stark's sidekick. Now, it didn't have to be this way, but arguably more so than any live action actor before him. So, Holland has seems innately understands his character as Peter Parker, while Tobey has captured the earnest side of Parker and genuine nobility which strived him to such unhappiness and misery. The Garfield version at least keyed in the hopeless romantic who hides behind the mask. But keep in mind, guys, Holland brings a natural playness and the missing of those earlier big screen Spider-Mans. Maguire, by large, has lacked the joy of being Spidey entirely, and Garfield just been misjudged as a form of hostile arrogance. So, meanwhile, Holland's Peter, meanwhile, he loves being Spider-Man. So, even so, from desires of differentiations of these versions of Spider-Man who came before, Marvel Studios has also opted to slowly transform the essence of Peter's personality, gone from his nerdy kid from Queens with a chip on his shoulder to the place of a glorified Avengers mascot. Again, overeager fanboy who, despite having already saved the world, has idolized Robert Downey Jr., Tony Stark, like a god, and is now gushingly referring to Benedict Cumberbatch's Doctor Strange as Sir in a new Spider-Man No Way Home trailer. Again, after so many films and the prospects, they will get him, and he is about to go to college in No Way Home. But it's somewhat tiring that he's still being forced to play the same beat as a kid who worships the system, who's presumably will soon inherit the Tony Stark official successor. While Marvel's made billions by almost pre-nurturing, knowing that the faithful to source material is when it updates it for the screen, we have to keep in mind, guys, the fact remains that turning Peter Parker into something he never is in the comics, which is faintly baffling given that this was the greatest hero for almost 60 plus years. Now, as many folks understand his character is colored by recent film, the distinction between the comic book version of Marvel Cinematic Universe, one is easy to lose. Again, yes, when Steve Ditko first drawn him in Amazing Fantasy 15, that was a first 30 plus issues of Amazing Spider-Man series. Again, characters look hopelessly uncool, but he's got a horn-rimmed glasses and sweater vest, for Peter's sake. Again, but for the course part of original Power Fantasy, loser by day and winner by night, or at least by after school, Parker has grew up to eating wheat cakes, but after getting bitten by a radioactive spider, he now has to be nerd empowered. Again. So, when Holland's first solo film, Spider-Man Homecoming, was released in 2017, it seemed that director John Watts and a larger brain trust of the Marvel Studios brand has understands his dynamic. Like pretty much every curator since John Romita Sr. has taken over the character in 1966, they soften up the misanthropy that Ditko's visual storytelling instilled in his character. But again, Marvel still was savvy enough to put 2 Ramones songs over the first solo Spider movie. Again, the character is also meant to embody youthful exuberance. excluding the naivety of youth to feel like they always know him best. The folks like Adrian Toombs, he should come off as some sort of punk. Again, in some way, Homecoming has, and to a lesser extent, the shoehorn of Peter in the earlier Captain America Civil War 2016s felt like a rift from the Amazing Spider-Man #1 of 1963, Stan Lee and Ditko's first Spider-Man book after his character origin story, the year before an inaugural issue. Again, Peter does idolize the original Marvel comic universe coolest heroes, which were back then Fantastic Four rather than Iron Man Avengers. But noted, in fact, this first issue is about Spider-Man trying to join Marvel's first family during America's Camelot years. Again, yet if you go back and you read your issues, there's a prickly standoffishness to Peter that rubs paternal figures like Reed Richards and Ben Grimm the wrong way. This was by design, and of course, there's some other things noted as well. Now, intent of creating a character who is so poor fit for an adult-oriented teamwork, again, hell, even if the reason he tries to join the Fantastic Four was because he's broke and thinks this is the quickest way to make a little extra bread, well, so now let's get down to business. Peter has enthused the comic panels, and you can read them below. But how much does this job pay? I figure I'm worth your top salary, man. So Fantastic Fours respond by mocking him as having rocks in his head, and he hilariously thinking they're genuine motors. In so many words, they tell him to get lost. Now that's really sad. But again, now granted, Peter's exceedingly capitalistic motivations in this comic has well to his self-pity and whine after their rejection, its particularly selfish depiction of the character, and as aforementioned rough edges of John Romita Sr. and Stan Lee has smoothed out and retooled the template of Spider-Man comics to be a soap opera with fistfights. Nonetheless, though, Stan Lee and Ditko were still trying to establish a fundamental element of his character that's helped catapult him to becoming the most popular superhero in the world. Now, he doesn't play well with others as an everyman, but is somewhat viewed as a schmuck from outside perspectives that runs the gamut of how the press runs hatchet jobs on him, henceforth the Daily Bugle, now as well as some other heroes have treated him. Again, while other characters like Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, and Hulk were originally teamed up to raise profile of all those characters in Avengers comics, much like the films in the early 2010s, again, they were still viewed as Marvel Comics B team. Now Spidey was a bit of a loner. They made him more valuable in Marvel Comics staples. Again, he's Marvel's closest answer to traditional superhero setups of a Batman or a Superman, but it's also contrasted nicely with those paternal authority figures of DC, as well as Marvel's own lines of role models. Now, Peter Parker is the same age of a sidekick character like Robin, who idolizes Batman but does whatever he says, or like Bucky, the human shield, who's also idolized Captain America when he died. But when Stan Lee lighted this idea on Spider-Man, they say, here could be a character the age of many Marvel comic readers of 1960 teenagers were at the time, but instead of being a complacent and guiltless sidekick, he has to be his own man, or a boy trying to be a man, but with problems the readers can relate to: money, girls, school, and characters' age, jobs, and careers. Again, he's every kid who hung out with Mary Jane Watson, Gwen Stacy, and Harry Osborn at coffee shops discussing about the Beatles more than he ever did with the Avengers. When he's teamed up with authority figures who might look at him as a presumable protege, in dynamics that were usually awkward or standoffish, with exception of Human Torch from Fantastic Four, who was also a really popular teenage superhero character of the 60s. Again, guys, so intriguingly though, the comics didn't toy with turning Peter into a team player or sidekick type. until the 2000s, when he has married MJ and moved into Avengers Tower. Peter basically became Iron Man's subordinate. Now, personally, we want to argue that it was far more damaging to the character's appeal than a 20-year-old marriage to MJ. Now, nonetheless, Marvel Joe Quesada has obsessed with these noodles until it's gutted him. Partially, though, because the heavily contrived and inexplicable choice of having Tony Stark convince Peter Parker to unmask himself from national television. So, what it's worth, guys, Marvel Studios and Watts can learn easy lessons from Marvel Comics' most boneheaded mistakes. Now they're playing in the same sandbox as Quesada did 15 years ago, but much sharper writing. Now, with choices of having Mysterio reveal Peter's identity to the world and Spider Man Far From Home to create a same dynamic, whatever happens in No Way Home, it is assumed it'll be better than the train wreck of an idea to have Peter and MJ sell their marriage or memory of their marriage to a devil, as occurred in legendary awful Spider Man One More Day storyline. Now, be it as it may, Marvel still took the other awful tenet, those of the late 2000s comics, and made him a backbone of their version of the character. Peter is not his own man. He is Tony's sidekick, who, despite his youth, is only too happy to toe the line of a dead billionaire. Now, as he was auditioning to become a member of college Republicans when he gets to university, he's even differential to his villains like Jake Gyllenhaal's Quentin Beck, who also able to manipulate him and suck up the old generation. But he's not a rebel in the movies. He's the equivalent of Robin on Super Friends. But again, the kid who's been thrilled to be in the same room, sir, and thus makes him his own identity subservient to the larger cinematic shared universe central conceit, which is fondly enabled with all these brands, guys. So it's fascinating that in 20 years, we went from Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man looking to idols into his eyes, be it William Defoe's Norman and Alfred Molina's Otto, and telling him what time it is, to a webhead who still hides behind his idol's legs, or at least a $1 billion drone satellite system, and Stark Industries metal suits. So in a way, guys, even Jake Johnson's Old Man Peter, again, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, captures more of a comic book character's shaggy individuality with youthful insolence. Now, Peter will always be more fun when he's got the passion of youth, but not the practicality of a company man. Again, let me know your thoughts. I think it's interesting. So, again, this was just a little bonus I wanted to add to the Den of Geek. I'm probably going to be talking about one more thing, and then I'm going to wrap this up. We just have to find something that looks and holds true. Okay, so now we are going to be trying to find something, guys. We're trying to find something. So we are going to try to find some Batman. Okay, we're going to go, since we talked about Spider-Man, we're going to try to see if we can find some Batman. Okay, so now we want to see if we can find some Batman. Again, we want to try to find something that we never talked about before. Again, we're talking about Batman. So, Batman is Batman adapting Hush. Now, you remember the story Batman Hush. Well, it was also a movie too. Back maybe a couple years ago, they made an animated adaptation of Batman Hush. So, Batman Hush is Batman adapting Hush. Now, the new Batman trailer has teased the sick and sordid game Mastermind by the Riddler, and it's starting to look a lot like the Hush saga. Now, if you read Batman Hush, you would know where I'm kind of coming from. But again, what is he hiding under there? is typically what the citizens of Gotham might ask in a Dark Knight movie about Batman himself. But with the new Batman trailers new out, with Paul Dano's Riddler, who's only referred to be the new sizzle of real footage as a serial killer. Now, with a tape on his mask and oversized glasses, Dano's Riddler initially looks like something out of a David Fincher movie. But again, John Doe meets Zodiac Killer, and again, we've seen more of him from the new Batman trailer. He even hides to be appears the Riddler's face during interrogation scenes. Now we are left wondering if there's a reason for this mystery. Especially in the light of ways, the film is clearly inspired by Jeff Loeb and Jim Lee's Batman Hush. Now, you guys know that Batman Hush is one of the greatest Batman stories of all time. Again, it has 12 issues and a comic book story arc from the early 2000s. It is one of the most seminal Riddler and Catwoman stories of the 21st century. So Hush is often cited as favorites among Batman fans. Now, in the wakes of new trailers released at Fandom in 2021, we are left to keep guessing if writer-director Matt Reeves is amongst them. We have another look at a trailer, the main trailer you can watch on YouTube. Again, check it out. Let me know your thoughts. I've seen it already 10 times, but let me know. So, sense of whose father. The biggest clue about the parallels between new films and Hush has come to during a moment in the trailer when Robert Pattinson's Bruce Wayne is notably not Batman, has stumbled upon a riddle that might also be a crime scene. Shirtless and devoid from the Dark Knight attire, Bruce is filmed with an overhead shot, standing in the literal riddle. Now the Riddler has apparently had an axe to grind with all of Gotham's elite and civic leaders. So he's written multiple names in chalk on the floor alongside collaborating photographs. Again, no more lies, Coulson refers to Peter Skarsgård, district attorney, who might also have a fate worse than Harvey Dent. Judging by how one of these Batman big set pieces clearly takes a place in the courthouse. Mitchell and Savage, meanwhile, refer to the Gotham mayor and police commissioners respectfully. Again, but there's also the last opaque riddle, the sins of my father, is written on the floor, with a chalk line leading directly to a question mark, from the center of a room. Where Bruce is standing, notably there are no incriminating photos accompanying those scribblings. Is the father referring to Riddler's parent or Batman's? Now, given one of them is presumably Edward Nygma and the other Bruce Wayne, the son of Gotham's last richest city elder, it's pretty easy to guess. Thus, this teases several things to comic book fans. Number 1. The Riddler has beef with Thomas Wayne. Number 2. The Riddler knows Batman is Bruce Wayne, with a scene looking like it could be in the Batcave. Number 3. The Riddler has personal reasons for wanting to kill Batman. These are all things that tie in together. So again, this would certainly explain the hostility of the Riddler's message to Batman in a new trailer, which instead has a funny play of words, can be blunt as "see you in hell." Now, as another point in trailer, he promises Batman he'll be black and blue and dead all over. But again, before the story's over, all of which echoes the criminal conspiracy of Hush. Now, the Hush connection. You want to know the Hush connection? I'll let you know. So the Loeb and Lee comics, the Cape Crusader, has stumbled onto a criminal conspiracy involving the Riddler and a character he's never known was his enemy, Thomas Elliot, aka Hush. Now, on this page, Elliot and Bruce were childhood friends, at least in Bruce's mind. But with Elliot taking after Bruce's father and becoming a gifted surgeon, until the late Elliot fakes his death at the hands of the Joker, getting Batman the morn of his passing is actually, though, Elliot entered into an elaborate plan with the Riddler. even though complicated means have finally deduced Batman and Bruce Wayne, and it turns out Elliot, who also had a lifelong grudge against the Waynes, because when he was a boy, he attempted to murder his own parents by sabotaging them in a car. But Thomas Wayne, an other gifted surgeon, and Elliot's namesake, were able to save his life. Of Elliot's murder resulted in Elliot being unable to inherit his parents' fortune for decades to come. Now, it's pretty absurd, but again, it provides the impetus of mysterious masked villain who hides behind bandages and who engineers Batman's downfall, including by collaborating with the slew of Dark Knight classic rogue gallery, who's made cameo appearances. Yes, Penguin is also among them. Now, interesting though, Hush has also been adapted before several mediums, as never been seen before, directly and exactly the same in comics. In Batman Arkham games, Elliot and Hush features in a subplot against two games where he's revealed to use plastic surgery in order to look like Bruce Wayne and steal his fortune, which has also roots from different comic book storylines. Meanwhile, guys, and perhaps more intriguingly for Batman, a 2019 animated film released straight to video, again by DC Animation, combining the characters of Hush and Riddler. Again, that's the movie I mentioned a little earlier, but with later still figuring out Batman's identity and then creating a Hush persona to lure the unsuspecting Batman and Catwoman into his new, more violent game without the riddles. But while we doubt that Reeves is turning the direct to video animated film for inspiration, it does provide a recent example the creative impulses to rework Hush into a Riddler storyline that jetsons the Elliot's soapy motivation for vengeance. Although this doesn't mean you couldn't create another involving the Waynes, plus the Riddler isn't the only major rogue from Hush who's prominently featured in Batman trailers. Again, the Batman and Catwoman connection. Again, beyond the Riddler, there's also another significant element from Batman Hush, which is clearly influencing Batman. But just as it did The Dark Knight Rises and also the Arkham video games, it's more or less all modern Batman media. The relationship between Batman and Catwoman, Bruce Wayne and Selena Kyle. Now, we see these characters have been a playful flirtation since Catwoman's first appearance in Batman #1 of 1940. Again, the relationship constantly remained at least vaguely antagonistic, but she's the villain with a heart of gold. But Batman always had to put her behind bars to let her escape again. That has changed in Hush when Catwoman basically became an intimate partner to Batman. Now, Selena has still occasionally moonlights as a cat burglar in the comics, but she's often than not has become Bruce's confidant and an ally in modern comic books and modern history of Batman. Now, eventually, his bride. This all started in the issue of Hush, where Bruce had dared to take off his mask in front of Selena Kyle. This was a moment where Catwoman has fully transitioned from the realm of a villain to that of an anti-hero. Yes. So first she was a villain, and now we see her as an anti-hero. Again, since then, Bruce and Selena, as opposed to Batman and Catwoman, have often been colleagues working together as much against one another. So elements of Christopher Nolan has certainly embraced the most recent solo Batman movie, and again, technically, Nolan even married Bruce and Selena before the comic writer Tom King did. The same, kind of. Now, it remains to be seen whether Zoe Kravitz, her Selena, will be more cleanly heroic in the Batman as Catwoman is in Hush. But noted, guys, the new trailer shows her often without her mask in Batman's company. Again, this includes a one-shot that appears to be set in a subterranean lair. But could that be Pattinson's version of the Batcave? That's a good question. But also, Like the Catwoman is in Hush, Travis's Selena is visibly shaken by a sight of how violent Bruce is, and can be get from beating a criminal in Vage. Now, which occurs on a page after Batman mistakenly believes his friend Thomas Elliot was murdered. Now, this is not to say that Batman will be a direct one-to-one adaptation of Hush, but again, it's just theory, guys. It's theories. But again, but just as Nolan has drew heavy inspiration from Frank Miller and David Mazzucchelli's Batman Year One, Batman Begins, the inspiration from Jeff Loeb, and Tim Sale's Long Halloween, or from Dark Knight, or it seems like Hush could be having a major impact on the Reeves Batman. So this new film is a story that involves many of Batman's larger rogues, like Hush, in an adventure that seems to dive into Bruce's family history, primarily the classic rogues most entangled from the narrative webs, Catwoman and the Riddler. Again, two popular villains. Again, there's even been scenes of Batman going to a cemetery in both stories, wearing a very formal black attire, perhaps an old clue he needs to dig up in Batman. Again, let me know your thoughts about it. So, again, I'm going to wrap this up. I'm probably going to get some lunch. I'm probably going to get some lunch, and then I'm going to maybe do some stuff later. I don't know. But I'll catch you guys later, and I'll see you guys in the future, and I'll see you guys around. Bye.